In 1 mile, use the roundabout to make a U-turn.
Send her home on the Wednesday cause she was in the bed trying to hop on the duvet. Just for the night, I don't bite, unless that's what you like, She pop up, pull up and ride with just on my mind, Those fights got me weak inside, spend the week inside,
So I graduated from uni with a bachelor's in mechanical engineering in June last year, but I didn't really graduate because of Rona, but I do have a shiny certificate with my name on it that says I'm now able to use a drill and solve quadratic equations to somewhat of a decent level. But spending more time than a 9 to 5 working for this qualification during 3 years, which is complete bullshit. I think I can count the number of lectures I attended in my 3rd year on one hand, and being constantly surrounded by people doing the same thing as you don't really have any time to learn anything about yourself. Unless you study tournament golf, which is an actual degree you can spend 3 years of your life studying at Cornwall College, then you probably already do know everything there is to know about yourself. But finishing uni and having life come at you hard and fast is a very strange situation to be in for a 21-year-old, because unless you got a 6-figure salary grad role or managed to pour your entire life savings into a meme, you're gonna have to keep up filling up your tap water glass with Fanta and Nando's for a good few years.
Money doesn't buy happiness.
I like to say I live by this quote, but I constantly spend money on Supreme and Jordans, fulfilling my 14-year-old desire of becoming an Instagram hypebeast. I should be saving to buy a house or making an emergency fund, but my brain has already discussed the situation with itself and it decided, that can wait. A few years ago, I was obsessed with finding the highest paying jobs without a degree. I'm a simple man. To me, it was more money equals more shoes equals more happiness. A quick Google search later and you can find stories talking about plenty of lottery winners between the ages of 20 and 30 who fall into a great bout of depression after being up millions overnight. But during my extensive research, I read this story about this one guy from Wales who worked at McDonald's and won the national lottery with 1.4 million smackaroons straight into his pocket, which is probably like 900k after taxes. Instead of buying a Lambo or an expensive yard, which nowadays 1.4 million can't actually get you a dream house unless you're planning to live on a farm or some shit, he continued working at McDonald's. When they asked him why, he said he was bored. You can only go shopping a certain number of times before you start seeing the same shit. It gets boring and repetitive. So if money can't buy happiness and you're thrown into this mess of a world with no one to tell you what to do, no emails from your tutor asking you where you were because you missed your 9 AM meeting, what keeps you going? What are we really working towards? I've kind of been in an existential crisis for a while wondering about this question. Alright, this is starting to turn into a motivational hub video, and even though it makes the hairs on my neck stand up every time I hear that "why do we fall" speech,
why do we fall?
Watching TikToks all day and talking about how you're going to get your P's up isn't really going to get your P's up.
Consistent action.
Right, this is now turned into a step-by-step guide on how to survive your first year after finishing university.
Number 1.
Realize you're not the same person you were 3 years ago. The world is anything you want it to be. You can be anyone you want to be. I'm not a manifestation cult member and I haven't even read The Secret, but you can't get a job because you don't have any industry experience. You can't get that industry experience because the job you're trying to get to have that industry experience requires industry experience, and now you're stuck in a loop constantly refreshing your LinkedIn feed hoping a recruit will see your profile and just think your headline bangs. But you had dreams before that. You don't have to rise to an expectation that never even existed. Take some time to learn new things. We live in a world where you can learn how to play a piano by professionals online. And that's why this video is sponsored by Skillshare. Wait, cut. It's my first video, do you really think I had any sponsors? But in all seriousness, you're in the perfect position to make mistakes and learn from them. A wise man once said, "For the things we have to learn before we can do them, we learn by doing them." And that shit is true. No cap.
Number 2.
Learn how to take criticism. All throughout school, we're constantly praised for our accomplishments and victories. We're continuously given something as a reward for completing tasks, and we've been programmed from a young age to expect this every time we do something good. You probably remember sports day at school. They used to give out medals for just taking part. Look, I stand with inclusivity and all that, but unfortunately the world doesn't work like that. As you get older, you realise you're rewarded less and less for outstanding achievements, and even the people at the top are receiving harsh criticism on a daily basis. Just look at Jeff Bezos. He's constantly slandered for the amount of materials he uses in his packaging. Elon Musk is criticised for exploiting the people that work for him. Oh, he doesn't do any of the work himself. He just hires people to do it. But you really think Elon sits on his phone all day and worries about people talking shit about him on Twitter? Chances are, probably not. Look at Kanye West for example. Every time he releases a new album, it causes outrage and people think he's a nutcase. But he's learned how to take criticism. He's been getting it his whole life. He just learned how to not give a shit what people think about him, because your work isn't going to be everyone's cup of tea, and you can't please every Tom, Dick and Harry, or in his case, every Kim, Chris and Chloe. The quicker you realise this, the quicker you can stop worrying about people pleasing and move on to
Number 3.
do whatever you want to do. You completed a big part of your life and you're 40 grand in debt to prove it. Take some time to do shit you wouldn't normally do. And if you're scared people will laugh about it,
You're a donut! You're so stupid!
ask yourself, does it really matter? I guarantee you nobody cares if you decide to take up knitting. We live in a society where we're limited by the thought of what other people think of us. Again,
We're limited by the thought of what other people think of us.
that's just the way things are now. We're trapped climbing a social ladder that leads to nowhere. Maybe a few more Insta DMs and a few more likes on a picture, but ask yourself, is it all really worthwhile? I find it's very easy to slip into an anxious and depressive state when you're not doing anything you want to do. So unless you went to study a degree you were actually really passionate about, chances are you had to put up with that for a very long time. So do me a favour, when this video ends, which is probably in like 6 seconds, get off your phone, go hug a tree, because when you're doing whatever you want to do, you don't really have any time to be depressed.